Hi guys and welcome back to The Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is Wednesday night. I hope you all are having a good week so far. I hope we're all staying safe. I hope we're all staying home. I hope we're all staying isolated. My emails interrupted me there a little bit to tell me I'm live, which I know obviously because we're here. So I hope you're all staying safe. I hope you're all staying isolated and doing all you can in order to help everybody really. We're going to talk about what I think is potentially one of Everton's biggest issues currently, and definitely something that I think Carlo Ancelotti has to be able to get over and has to be able to deal with during his time at Everton Football Club. It's specifically about goals and why we simply do not score enough goals, and I want to talk about the contributions in terms of goals and assists and chances created and stuff like that have actually come from something from the rest of the team, because it's very, very easy at the moment to look at Dominic Calvert-Lewin, look at Richarlison and say they're brilliant, they're on fire, they're absolutely smashing it, you know. Dom on over, 12, 13 goals, something like that, Richarlison just behind. But when you look throughout the rest of the squad and you look at the goal stats throughout the rest of the squad, it is a little bit scary, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. And if we want to be a side that are fighting in the top four, if we want to be a side that even are playing European football, even in the Europa League, more players need to be getting involved on the score sheet. We need to be scoring an awful lot more goals, and we cannot simply just rely on, you know, the two strikers up front, because there may be weeks when those two strikers aren't available both at the same time, and in that case I think we're really, really struggling for goals. So we'll run through some of the stats in just a second. I did speak about this actually on Network Michael D's channel, and that video is going out at 7:15 today. So if you're a fan of my channel and you don't know Mike, you'll absolutely love Mike. I'm sure most of you know Mike anyway, because, you know, he's one of the OGs on Everton's YouTube and stuff. He's absolutely boss. So go over to his channel at 7:15 PM tonight. We talk about transfers, we talk about players in, we talk about players out, and we also talk about this issue, you know, in a little bit more depth. So I'm going to just expand on that today here on the live stream. But like I said, definitely go over 7:15 PM and check out the video of us two, me and Mike, over on Mike's channel. I'd really, really appreciate that if you could go and leave him a like, go and subscribe to his channel as well. That would be absolutely fantastic. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. So it's pretty self-explanatory really. You know, I've just briefly explained there, it's the title, why we simply do not score enough goals. And I honestly do believe it's one of Everton's biggest issues. Now, I think it's an issue that sort of gets skirted over a little bit, and I don't know whether it necessarily gets pushed under the carpet. That's probably not the right word to say, but it's definitely not brought to the limelight an awful lot. And you know, when we think about what Everton need to do in order to get to fighting in European competitions and fighting for the Premier League, you know, the board come out in the AGM and they say that within a couple of years we want to be challenging for the Premier League and we want to be challenging in the Champions League, and then they bring in a manager who has absolutely got the experience to do that, and you think, boss, brilliant, that's the first step, that's a massive, massive step. And then you look around the surface and you go, right, okay, now we need to bring in the players that are good enough to do that, to be fighting, to be winning trophies in Europe, to be winning domestic competitions, and then we also need to bring in leaders as well. And we've spoke about leaders so much over the last 18 months on the channel, and as Evertonians, as a fan base, we've spoke about the lack of leadership, we've spoke about the fact that the captain's armband seems to be thrown about left, right and centre. I literally done a live stream last week talking about the captain's armband and the fact that there isn't any leaders on the pitch really, so that's why it does just get passed around as if it's just an item of clothing. And they are two issues that we do need to look at as well. We need to address the fact that we've got a lack of leadership massively throughout the squad, massively throughout the team, and also the fact that, you know, the quality of players sometimes maybe just isn't good enough. We've seen against Chelsea, for example, just before obviously the league was postponed, we got absolutely ripped to bits by a Chelsea side who just had better players than us, and that's also something to think about. But also something to think about is the fact that we do not score an awful lot of goals, and more specifically, the goals that we're scoring are coming from the same two players. So I'm going to throw some stats at you now. Obviously, we know Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison are head and tails top goal scorers for Everton this season. Dom's got 13, I believe, and I think Richie's just behind them with 9 or 10 or something like that. But below them, you know, you look at the two strikers and you think, right, okay, 30, you know, 20 goals, 25 goals between them. Not unbelievable, not going to win you the title, but it's not, you know, it's not awful. We've seen worse. This is where we should be relying on the rest of the squad, the wingers, the midfielders, the defenders, the fullbacks to chip in and score goals. So just to go through the rest of the team, so you've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison on their goals, and you can't complain about them. You really, really can't complain about them because they've been fantastic. Third is Bernard with 3. Now, I really, really like Bernard, and I watched Bernard's goals today again from this season. Obviously, he scored against Watford very, very early on, a fantastic goal, cuts in from the right-hand side, the left-hand side, cuts in and hits it hard and low. It's a brilliant goal. There's a goal against Crystal Palace as well, only a couple of months ago, where the ball comes in from Walcott and he hits it on the volley, is fantastic. And then obviously is one against West Ham, again earlier on in the season, where he sort of got one-on-one with the keeper, decided to turn around, take on about 4 players and then score. So Bernard's goals this season have been fantastic. They've been really, really technically good, and they've been brilliant. However, he just simply isn't scoring enough. For me, we're in April now, but the season ended midway through March, and you could say at that point we're 9 games away from the season ending, and our third highest goal scorer away from the 2 strikers has got 3 goals. And I honestly just think that's really, really, really not good enough. If we're a team that want to be fighting in Europe, if we're a team that want to be challenging for the top 4, we can't have only 2 goal scorers on a relatively acceptable amount of goals, and then your third goal scorer, who is a winger and attacking player, is on 3. And you look at the other players that are in and around him. Gylfi Sigurdsson's on 2 goals this season, one of them being a penalty, so effectively he's on 1 outfield goal. Theo Walcott's on 1, which was that one against Watford, which, don't get me wrong, was a really, really important goal in the grand scheme of things, but 1 goal for a winger that's played an awful lot of game time this season. I think some fans are guilty of forgetting that Marco Silva started this season as Everton manager. Marco Silva managed this Everton side for the first half of the season, and Theo Walcott got an awful lot of game time during that first half of the season. Alex Iwobi's on 1 Premier League goal. Moise Keane's obviously on 1 Premier League goal. We know that it hasn't gone as we would have liked for Moise Keane, but regardless, he's got 1. Tom Davies has got 1. Seamus Coleman's got none. I don't know whether Luca Dean scored the Premier League goal as well. Going through the stats, I didn't see Luca Dean's name on the list. So when you look throughout the side and you think, right, okay, away from the 2 strikers, our highest goal scorer's got 3 goals this season, and we were in the middle of March before the season was postponed. That's really, really, really not good enough. And below him on 2 is Yerry Mina, and those 2 were within 90 seconds of each other in the 1 game against Watford. So other than Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, realistically there you've got Bernard who scored a couple of goals, and everybody else has done very, very little. And I know it's tough, this conversation and this to talk about, because it'd be quite unfair for me to go at a Yerry Mina or go at a Mason Holgate or go at an Andre Gomez, etc., and say that it's bad that they're not scoring, because at the end of the day, it's not Mason Holgate's job to score, it's not Yerry Mina's job to score, but realistically, we need goals throughout the squad. You look at some of the best teams in world football throughout history, some of the best teams in world football now, they have goals throughout the squad. Sergio Ramos is scoring 5 or 6 times a season, if not more, for Real Madrid consistently. He's scoring, every now and then from a corner, he's getting on the end of a free kick, he's doing that, whereas nobody seems to be doing that in Everton squad. And I'm not comparing Everton to Real Madrid, I'm just saying that that's a good example of a centre-half whose job isn't to score goals, getting involved and scoring goals and doing that. And it's simple. In this team, we just don't have enough goal scorers, and not enough players are chipping in, and not enough players are doing their part. Because okay, Andre Gomez is, his game mightn't be to break forward and score goals, but the fact that he's only scored 1 last season, hasn't scored at all this season, and granted he's been out for a long time, to be fair to him, it's just simply not good enough. Gylfi Sigurdsson on 1 this season, we all know isn't good enough. I'm not going to sit here and go through Gylfi Sigurdsson's form and talk about how 1 outfield goal for him isn't good enough, because we all know it's not. But I just seen these stats and I was thinking about it, and I thought it's really, really scary, because we initially go to the fact that we've got no leaders and there's no leadership in the squad, and that needs to be changed, and that's bang staring you in the face. We only have to go a goal down or 2 goals down prior to Carlo Ancelotti come in and would fall to bits, and that shows the lack of leadership. Obviously Carlo's come in and he's added that leadership from the sidelines, he's added that leadership and that experience screaming at the players, but you've still seen in parts of the Newcastle game, various other parts as well, even the Chelsea game, that there's only so much Carlo can do from the sideline. He can't stick a shirt on and go and run out there. And in those games, like the Newcastle game, like the Chelsea game, we've seen the lack of leadership, and we've seen the fact that, that's a massive issue to overcome as well, the quality of players is. But again, like I said, for me, it's just astonishing that we don't really talk about this a lot. We don't really talk about this often. It's not something that you see people talking about on social media. This season, other than the two strikers, our highest goal scorer's got 3 goals, and I honestly don't think that's good enough, considering for large parts of the season we've played with a formation that allows a number 10, an attacking midfielder, and 2 wingers. And then when we've played in a 4-4-2, the 2 players that have played on right and left hand side of the midfield have pushed forward an awful lot anyway, considering we've played with at least 3 or 4 attacking players in every game going forward. Yeah, other than 2 strikers, the highest goal scorer is 3 goals with Bernard, and after him is a centre half who scored both goals within 90 seconds of each other. It really, really is scary. And for me, like I said, I love Bernard. I think his goals have been fantastic this season, and I think he's really, really talented. But if I was Carlo Ancelotti, I'd be saying to him this summer, listen, we're going to give you another 6 months, we're going to give you another year, but you can't be coming out of a season with 3 goals, with 4 goals. We need Bernard to be getting 7 to 10 goals a season. We need Theo Walcott, let's say, and I know there's arguments as to whether he'll be here next season and what have you, but let's just say for argument's sake, we started next season with the exact same team as that we've got now. We would need Bernard to get 10 goals, we'd need Theo to get 10 goals, we'd need Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin to get 15 each, we'd need Sigurdsson to be getting 5 to 10, we'd need Gomez to be chipping in with 3 or 4, we'd need each centre-half to be chipping in with a couple, maybe 3 or 4 a season. Luca Dean should be getting 4, 5, 6. Seamus Coleman, again, Seamus has got none this season in the Premier League. Luca Dean's got none in the Premier League, I don't believe, and neither is Jabril Sidibe. And again, for me, it's something so obvious, but it's something that you don't necessarily think about, and it is so obvious because when you look at the best teams, and you only have to look at the best Everton teams. Look at Everton in 2013-14. You had Romelu Lukaku, you had Ross Barkley scoring goals, you had Delafeu who was scoring goals, Stephen Naismith who was scoring goals, Seamus Coleman, Leighton Baines, the centre-half, Jagielka, all were scoring goals consistently. And if Everton won 5-0, you'd go, okay, well, Lukaku might have scored a couple of them, but you could probably put your money on Naismith or Barkley or Jags or Baines to score one of the others. Now, if you went to watch an Everton game and you were to go on live scores at the end of the 90 minutes and you were to see Everton had won 4-0, firstly, you'd be like, fucking hell, Everton have won 4-0, what's going on there, what have I missed? But you'd pretty much be able to guess that it will be Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison with those goals. Maybe the odd goal from somebody else here and there, but there's not enough consistency in terms of goal scoring throughout the side, and it's simple. The rest of the squad need to be doing more. They need to be doing more. There's no excuse if Andre Gomez, and I'm going to be fair in this video, Morales as well. Mike says in the comments, and we'll get in the comments in a minute, Morales, another player in that 13-14 season who was scoring goals consistently. But I'm gonna be blatantly honest. I love Andre Gomez, and I know his job isn't specifically to score goals, and I know he plays in a little bit more of a defensive role or not as much of an attacking position. But if Andre Gomez has got the ball 20 yards away from the goal, he needs to be having the shot. There's absolutely no excuse as to why he isn't putting his foot through it. And I know it might be confidence, and I know he mightn't want to, and I know he might think that if he passes it to Calvert-Lewin or Richarlison, then that's a better use of the ball. But for me, we've seen how legends of the football club, Kevin Sheedy. We've seen players, Wayne Rooney, Ross Barkley included, players that have got that confidence, that if they've got the ball and they've got an opportunity, they only need that 1 second to strike it. And Andre Gomez can hit a ball. We've seen that against Wolves last season. We've seen it multiple times throughout his career. He can hit a ball. Same with Bernard. We've seen it multiple times with Bernard where he's been on the edge of the box and he's hit it. And for me, it's simple. I think the rest of the squad simply rely on the 2 strikers to score the goals, and they almost have what seems like a bit of an arrogance as to say, or maybe it's a selflessness as to say, well, I don't want to score, let me give it to Dom to score, let me give it to Richarlison to score. And realistically, if Everton have won a game 5-0 like I alluded to before, I want to see 5 different goal scorers realistically. Yet it'd be boss for Dominic Calvert-Lewin or Richarlison to put all 5 away, but I want to see 5 different goal scorers. And when you look through this list and you think, right, okay, taking away Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison, our highest goal scorer is Bernard on 3, which isn't good enough for a winger. And I'm not just going in on Bernard or certain players here, it's collectively as a squad. Other than those two players up front in Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison, nobody is doing enough offensively. Nobody is doing enough. Nobody is pulling their weight offensively, because even the centre-halves, the centre midfielders, the full-backs, they should be getting on the score sheet. We shouldn't be going a season where our highest goal scorer, other than our strikers, has got 3 goals. 3 goals. That is seriously worrying in my opinion, and it's something that we need to focus on. And you might be sitting here watching this team and you might think, oh, it's not that worrying, Cam, shut up. As long as Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison are playing, then we'll be alright. And that's fair enough at the end of the day, because you know, guaranteed, we're not guaranteed, but a lot of the times when Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison are playing, they score and they're in fantastic form at the moment, or before obviously the Premier League was postponed, they were in fantastic form and they were getting on the score sheet consistently and they were scoring a lot of goals and they were doing fantastically, but it's not out the realms of possibility, and especially with Everton Football Club, for at any one given time both of those players to be out, whether it be through an injury, whether it be through a suspension, whether it be through something else, it wouldn't be out the realms of possibility for Carlo Ancelotti to come on a pre-game press conference on a Friday and say both Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison are out of this weekend's game for whatever reason. And I honestly think if those words were to ever come out of Carlo Ancelotti's mouth at this time, we'd be sitting there thinking, we're fucked. We are honestly fucked, because nobody else can score goals, and yet, like I said, Bernard's chipped in with 3 this season, but they haven't been consistent. They've been 1 at the start of the season, 1 towards the middle of the season, 1 at the sort of end point of the season, you know, so it's not consistent. And then other than that, it's Yerry Mina with 2, which, like I said, again, I want to stress, both within 90 seconds of each other, and then everybody else on 1, and for me, that is really, really worrying, and it's something for Marcel Brands to look at, and it's something for Carlo Ancelotti to look at as to when we're going into this next transfer window, whenever it may be, you know, whether it be when it's meant to be or whether it's postponed for a little bit due to what's going on, whenever it may be, when we're going into this next transfer window, we're not only looking at players that have got the experience and have played in the Champions League and have won league titles wherever they've been, and you know, have got that leadership. We're not only looking at players like that, which is rare in itself, to bring in what I think we need 4 or 5 players in various positions. Now, like I said, we spoke about transfers, we spoke about players coming in, we spoke about players going out over on my channel. That video will be up at 7:15, so don't forget to check that out. But, you know, not only is it hard enough to bring 5 players in with A, massive leadership skills, B, you know, experience and have been and played in the top competitions and have won the top trophies, and C, are really, really talented and are at a decent age to bring in. Not only is that, you know, very, very tough to bring in, but we also have to ensure that those players in the positions, whether it be right back, whether it be central midfield, because we all know we need at least 2 central midfielders, definitely an attacking one, whether it be centre half, those players need to be able to contribute offensively. And again, not going to go too much in on the likes of Mason Holgate, because it's not his job, and his job is to defend and his job is to keep goals out, and he's done absolutely fantastic doing that. I think Mason Holgate, Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison have been the 3 players this season that I think have been absolutely levels above anybody else. I'm looking at the likes of, at the moment, your Bernards, your Alex Iwobis, your Gylfi Sigurdssons, your Andre Gomez's, your Tom Davies's, your Theo Walcott's, players that simply, your Moise Keane's, he's got to be included, players that simply have had multiple opportunities, lots and lots of opportunities, Fabian Delph included, and they haven't done it offensively. And for me, it's just a little bit of a worry. And like I said, you've got players like Bernard who are technically fantastic, and when they score, it's quite often a fantastic finish or a really, really good bit of skill. But it just needs to happen a lot more often, and it's the same throughout the squad. And let me know what you think about this topic, by the way, in the comment section down below. If you're watching live, let me know what you think live, because it really, really intrigued me, because I don't know whether it's just me. I might just be a serial worrier here, a serial worrier here, and looking at these stats and thinking that's dangerously bad. Other than the 2 strikers who we know are on fantastic form, you know, we're looking at Bernard on 3 goals as our highest goal scorer, and I just think that's really, really worrying. I think if you're a side that, again, alluding to what Denise Barrett-Baxendale is saying, alluding to what the board is saying, alluding to the reason Carlo Ancelotti has been brought into this club, if you are a club that are aiming to finish in the Champions League, that are aiming to play in European competitions, we should be looking at our top goal scorers now, and we should be going, bang, Calvert-Lewin 15, Richarlison 12, Sigurdsson 10, Walcott 8, Bernard 7, you know, Andre Gomez 4, Schneiderlin 3, Iwobi 6, you know, Luca Dean 4, Seamus 3, Holgate 2, Mina 2. That's what it should look like, not 1 for Davies, 1 for Iwobi in the Premier League, 1 for Walcott in the Premier League, despite the fact they've had a lot of game time, the pair of them, and their attacking players. None for Gomez, none for Seamus, none for Dean, 2 for Mina, none for Delph. It shouldn't be looking like that. 3 for Bernard. It shouldn't be looking like that. It should be looking a lot better, and for me that just is a little bit worrying. Anyway, we're getting to the live comments now. Like I said, I want to know your thoughts on it. I really, really do want to know your thoughts on it, because I think it's interesting, and I don't think it's a subject that a lot of people talk about and a lot of people bring up, but again, it's one of Everton's biggest issues. We talk about leadership being one of Everton's biggest issues, and it is. We talk about lack of quality at times being one of Everton's biggest issues, and it is. But again, it's alright bringing all of this quality in, it's alright bringing all these leaders in, but if they're not scoring goals, then that's another issue. And again, I've got a feeling a lot of people will sort of counter-argue this by saying, well, if Dominic Calvert-Lewin was scoring 20 goals a season and Richarlison was scoring 20 goals a season, a little bit like Lukaku was, we wouldn't have this issue. You know, if we had a natural-born goal scorer up front who was, you know, scoring 20, 30 goals a season, then we'd be all right. And I, to a degree, I understand that, and I understand that Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin probably aren't natural goal scorers, certainly not Calvert-Lewin, and natural in terms of, you know, got that something like Lukaku had, like the likes of Alan Shearer had, Jamie Vardy, Danny Ings, like those type of players that have got it. But again, I'm going to counter that by the team that Romelu Lukaku was in. I had Kevin Morales scoring goals, Stephen Naismith scoring goals, Ross Barkley scoring goals, Gerard Deulofeu. You look at Manchester City now, for example, in present time, and I've just said, if you take Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison out of the Everton team, where are the goals coming from? And it's simple, the facts show this season they're not coming from anywhere, and we're more than likely not going to score more than one, if not two, in that given game. You look at Manchester City, if you take Sergio Aguero and Gabriel Jesus out of Manchester City's side, you're still looking at it and you've still got Riyad Mahrez scores goals, Raheem Sterling scores goals, Kevin De Bruyne scores goals, Rodri scores goals, Sane when he's fit scores goals, Bernardo Silva scores goals, David Silva scores goals. And I know that's Manchester City and they're this, you know, side with all of this money and all of this top quality players, but that's just on a greater scale. What I'm trying to say is there's players around that squad. They will have 8 or 9 players, maybe even more, 10 to 15 players in a season that score more than 3 goals, whereas we haven't even got 3 players that have scored more than 3 goals, and that's worrying. Eugene says, happy birthday to Joe Royal for today. Yes, Joe Royal's 71 today, I think he is, or 72. Let me just double check that, because I don't want to get that wrong for Joe. But a massive, massive happy birthday to former Everton player and manager Joe Royal. In fact, while I'm on Twitter, we'll go through some of Joe Royal's stats now. 71 he is today, 202 games as a player and 102 goals. So getting nearly a goal in every 2 games. And 118 games as a manager and 47 wins. And obviously the winning manager in the FA Cup final. In 1995 FA Cup final. So a big, big happy 71st birthday to Joe Royal. If you're enjoying the team so far, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. Only takes a minute. Get the video shared. Let's get it all over social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Phone your mum and dad up now and say, get on the Mighty Blues, get on the channel. Phone your friends up. Let's get as many people in here as possible to talk about this. By the way, still got a couple of badges left. Not many left, but we've still got a couple. So if you're interested in pages in one of them, if you're interested in talking about one of them, DM us on Twitter at MightyBluesYT, and we'll have a conversation about that a little bit later on. Eugene says, are you watching the Everton-Arsenal match at 7 on YouTube? Watch along for the 2014 Premier League season. I'll be watching Mike's video first. I might try and catch it. What a game that was, by the way, the 3-0 game. I've got a little bit of stuff to do after the stream, so I'm not too sure if I will be able to catch it, but I'll try. Ethan says, thoughts on James Rodriguez? Again, I'm going to plug Mike's video, 7:15 PM today. We speak about James Rodriguez. We speak about what I think about him, whether I'd take him at Everton, just briefly, without giving too much away. I would take him. I really, really like him. I think he's a fantastic player. I think he's a player that would want to come in and would have the right attitude, would have the right mindset. His wages is an issue, of course, and something that would have to, you know, discuss with him. But I think he's a player that will be able to get his head down, work with Carlo Ancelotti, and I do think he'd have the right mindset. Samiro says, James earns 15 million a year with Real, mate. He does, as the most Real Madrid players that earn stupid money. Network Michael D says, thoughts on other channels? I love other channels, mate. I love yours as well. Definitely. Martin says, stop looking at cam winger strikers. You need a CDM centre back and good fullbacks. Once you don't concede, the goals will take care of themselves. See, I understand that, but I also disagree with that, because we could have the best defence in the world and not concede a goal, but if we're not scoring them, then we're still not going to win football matches. And yet, obviously, if we had the world's best defence, then you probably could look at Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison and go, you know what, they'll do enough to get us through a season comfortably. But the reality is we haven't got the world's best defence, and we need these players. We need the midfield. Ultimately, I think one of Everton's biggest letdowns this season, and one of the reasons why Everton haven't succeeded like some may thought, and haven't propelled ourselves into that fight for Europe, because we're still in and around there, but we're rather like peeping in over the edge. We haven't propelled ourselves straight in there. One of the reasons is because I honestly think the midfield this season has been dreadful. I think the midfield has massively let us down this season. I really do. CJ says the amount of goals we get from midfield is disgusting. Exactly, very little. James says my biggest problem is Everton don't shoot from outside the box enough. We rely on 2 players and that's it. Network Penalty says need somebody who's capable of beating a man, opening play and scoring goals. That man is you, Cam. I wish, mate, I wish. That man is an attacking midfielder who we need to bring in, whether it be James Rodriguez, whether it be somebody else. That man is an attacking midfielder who we desperately need to sign. Mike says, hi Jess, he's punching, good job, thought he should. 8 goals a season, Everton are better than Real Madrid. Jess says, hey, Mike says, hey, get to the comments, Cam. I'm in there, don't worry, mate. If you're enjoying the sea, by the way, please hit the like button. God says, don't get me started on the Newcastle game, came all the way from the States to watch Everton do that. Exactly, and again, that is a mentality issue, that's a lack of leadership, that's all of that combined into one. And again, it just shows that we've seen how fantastically Carlo Ancelotti's done for the football club in terms of mentality and in terms of putting his arm around players and allowing players to express themselves. We've seen how well he's done it. That we've seen it against Watford when we were losing that game 2-0. We come back, we won it ultimately away from home, which we never see. We've seen it in a lot of games this season. Newcastle away from home this season. We've seen a lot of times, since Carlo Ancelotti's come in, examples of him changing the mentality slowly but surely. Whether that is just being calm and putting his arm around players, we've seen that. But again, the Newcastle game was a big wake-up, I think, for a lot of us to say this still isn't fully fixed. And although you've got a fantastic manager and an unbelievable leader on the sidelines, you also need leaders throughout the squad as well. And goal scorers, as the title of the team suggests. Mike says he's feeling the pressure. Morales, Balassi for Walcott here. There's an opinion for you. Let me know what you think on that one. Abigail says, we are being linked with Coutinho. No chance he'd come back being an ex-Liverpool. He'd be coming, being an ex-Liverpool. That's why he turned that Man United down. I'd seriously put back at centre-back or at defensive midfield. Would you do, Cam? I'd seriously put back at centre-back or defensive midfield. I'm not too sure who I'd put back. Let me know who I'd put back and I'll let you know. Mitchell says, I reckon this Everton squad needs another summer of 45 attacking mids to provide for Dom. We need players that score goals. We need leaders, and we do need an attacking midfielder, a creative midfielder. LCFC boy says, hi Cam, I mate, hope you're doing well. Eugene says, keen link with the move back to Italy this summer with Roma. Sky Sports transfer news. Yeah, I honestly don't believe a word that Sky Sports say, if I'm being honest with you. Moise Keane confirmed on Monday night that he was happy at Everton, or on Sunday night, that he was happy at Everton and he was not looking to leave via his own Instagram. So I don't believe anything that Sky say at the moment. Alex says, yes Cam. Whammy says, hey everybody, how's everybody doing? Cam lad, I'm not too bad, I hope you're doing well. Mike says, Cam score goals, Jess score goals, Mike score goals. Abigail says, I bring Thiago Silva, David Silva, Mertens in on free transfers. I'd love Bernard, but think he's not a winger. He's more of a box-to-box midfielder. I think you've probably got an argument in regards to whether Bernard's a little bit more of an attacking midfielder, I'd say, rather than a winger. I'd love to bring Dries Mertens in. David Silva I'd love as well, but I don't think that could happen. And even Thiago Silva as well. But again, you look at financial fair play and you look at these players, and we have to, in order to bring signings like that in, we'd have to sell 4 or 5 players in the squad, and although that might seem easier, very easy, it's not as easy as said, obviously, because the players are still in there. Tuesday Day says Everton should not have Kevin Morales. I think it's probably about time for Kev to leave, but he was a good servant in his day, to be fair. Sarah says, lack of goal scorers is especially obvious in set pieces, isn't it? No one steps up as they should from the back line. Opportunity for strong, towering defenders to step up, and we're crying out for it. Absolutely spot on. Fantastic comment. You're right. Again, we're seeing this issue highlighted when we get corners, when we get free kicks, when we get opportunities where players that wouldn't necessarily get goals can get involved and can get goals, and we just don't see it enough. We don't see enough goals from corners. We don't see enough goals from set pieces. We don't see enough players taking shots from outside of the box, and you're spot on. It's highlighted it in set pieces massively. Michael says, give it away, shambles. I love you too. Abigail says, I love you, mate. Abigail says, Pedro may be 32, but he's still quick. Meunier is quality and free transfers in the summer, or Jordi Alba as well. There you go. There's 5 or 6 free transfers that Abigail just said then, that I think a lot of Evertonians would seriously look at bringing in. Martin says, my point is that the last few seasons Everton have bought Bernard, Wobie, Walcott, Sigurdsson, etc. Start focusing on a solid defence in the pitch will be better all round. I understand where you're coming from 100%. I do understand, and I get the fact that we do genuinely go for attacking players, and obviously those attacking players aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, with the exception of a couple. Obviously, I don't think you could criticise Richarlison at all since he's come in, a couple of years ago. Similar with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, although he's been here a little bit longer. But I do get your point at 100%, and I wouldn't be opposed to bringing in another centre half. For me, I think the position that we need to be first on the list this season, and I'm not going to name players this summer. Sorry, I'm not going to name specific players, but the positions that need to be addressed ASAP are right back, attacking midfield, and probably another centre midfielder like a Gisagana was, because we're massively missing him. Wayne says we need a Frank Kessie type of player. We do. Chris says, hi pal, hope you're well. I'm not too bad, mate. I hope you're doing well yourself. Wayne says we should sign Kai Havertz. I'd love him. And Mike says, get on Manacal's video at 7:15, and with that, I'm off. There you go. Like I said before, 7:15 PM on Mike's channel. We talk about transfers, we talk about Everton, we talk about an awful lot. So get over there and check that one out. Anyway, that's going to do it for today's team. A little bit of a shorter one than usual, but what do you think? Do you think that one of Everton's biggest issues is the lack of goals throughout the squad? Like me, again, looking at the stats, obviously this has been a very good time for us to reflect and have a little look at some stats and try and figure out what's gone wrong in certain positions at certain places in the table. And you do look at the fact that, Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin are doing fantastically well up front, and that's obvious. But then you look throughout the rest of the squad, and after Bernard with 3 goals, the highest goal scorer is Yerry Mina with 2. He got both of them within the same minute, and then the rest of the players in the squad are on 1, and it's simply not good enough for players like Theo Walcott, who are attacking players, Gylfi Sigurdsson, Alex Iwobi, all to only have 1 outfield Premier League goal this season, and 1 goal altogether. In Sigurdsson's case, it's 1 outfield goal. It just simply isn't good enough. It really isn't good enough, and I think if we're going to have that aim to finish in the Champions League and have that aim to be challenging in Europe, we need players that are simply providing a lot more than that. Tuesday Lane says, I think Kevin Morales is an excellent player. That's fair enough. William says we need a cam and a right winger. Ewan says it's going to be good watch along tonight. It will be if you're free. Check that one out. I think it's at 7 o'clock. Chris says you don't score enough goals because you don't have that quality attacking midfield to assist Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin. Spot on, can't disagree. Eugene says see you about the toffees. Thanks very much, Eugene. See you soon. Mike says weekly vid. Yes, definitely we'll do that one. Weekly videos for us too. Hernandez says we need to shore up the back line, but the problem is the attack. There's a reason they get paid the big money. Hope you're well. Be safe. Spot on, 100%. I'm not too bad as well. I hope you're well as well. Be safe. Your badges are on the way. William says take care, guys. All stay safe. Thanks very much, you too. Wayne says it won't be Pickford, Sigurdsson, Walcott, Davis. Keane need to go to bring in money and sort the wage bill out. We do need to get rid of a lot of players in order to sort the wage bill out. I'll agree with that one. Chris says, I agree. You're missing Garner type of player too. We are. And Wayne says, hopefully that's Kabam. And Chris, hopefully it is, but we're not going to know that until we see him play, are we? And hopefully we do see him play sooner rather than later. Anyway, that's going to do it for today's live stream. If you have enjoyed, please do hit that like button. It only takes a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. Go and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. The links are down in the description below. Like I said, if you're interested in a badge, you've only got about 10, 11 left, something like that. Get over on our Twitter. Obviously, it'll be first come, first serve. 50% of all proceeds will be going to Everton in the community. £2 per badge. Go and DM us on Twitter at MightyBluesYT, and we'll talk about that. Big thanks for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. We'll be back on Friday, 5:15, with another live stream. We'll be doing a Ask Me Anything episode, so a little bit more of a chilled one. Sit back, talk random questions, random topics. So don't forget to get involved at 5:15 on Friday for that one. Like I said, check out Mike's video, 7:15 tonight. We'll be talking about transfers over on Mike's channel, Network Michael D. Get over there, go and give him a subscribe and like the video when it gets released as well. Chris says, take care. Sorry I was late, no problem, mate. Thank you very much. Take care. See you on Tuesday. Delaney says, stay safe, Cam. Thank you very much. That's going to do it for today. Please leave a like if you've enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.